What's up, guys? This should be a pretty fun video. I was recently messaged by Joey Sturgis and JST. They sent me a copy of their new vocal compressor, Gain Reduction 2. I'm pretty pumped about this because I've been an avid user of the original Gain Reduction plugin. I know this one has a bunch of new features that are taking this from just being a vocal compressor to a more complete vocal mixing solution. So I'm pretty pumped to see how this sounds. So I'm going to be using gain reduction on the lead vocal of a track called Menominee Road by the band Edward and Graham. Definitely check them out. Before breaking down the individual components and parameters, I'm going to play a quick excerpt to just show how I'm using this plugin to get a very upfront, commercial, and modern vocal mix.
Burning like a fever, shadows on the stone. Fire in the sky so the stars don't burn alone. Whiskey on my breath and the bottles on the seat. Parting of my dead hand, cured of my disease.
So right off the bat, you're going to notice a few really big differences in layout from the original gain reduction plugin. This time around, they've added a few really cool features that, in my opinion, take this from just being a compressor to being really like a vocal processing station. So looking at the interface, at the top we have two compression modes, light and heavy, input gain, output gain, breath and sibilance controls, really cool, warmth and air, you have clarity, body, and then the slate control, which is how much you're compressing the signal, and then your mix knob or dry wet. I love having this option on a compressor, be it a plugin or hardware, because it's imitating a parallel signal flow, and that parallel compression effect is just something we hear so often nowadays, and to be able to achieve that inside of a plugin and not have to do any external bus processing is just such an awesome thing. So two new features that I'm finding are really awesome are these warmth and air controls. So the warmth knob emulates like a classic tube distortion and saturation that you might find on a lot of hardware preamps and compressors. But what's really cool about this is you don't have to rely on any aggressive gain staging to get that effect. You can simply just dial it in. So here's a quick little example on that same vocal track of what that sounds like.
Burning like a fever, shadows on the stone. Fire in the sky so the stars don't burn alone.
Yeah, so you can immediately hear as the imaginary tubes start to break up a bit, that increase in harmonic distortion really helps the mid-range push through, and it smooths off the top end in a really nice way. So next up is the air control. This is a nice way to add some top end that helps exaggerate some of the natural timbres of the voice, that help you cut through a bit easier in the mix. So here's what that sounds like.
Burning like a fever, shadows on the stone. Fire in the sky so the stars don't burn alone. Fire in the sky so the stars don't burn alone. Whiskey on my breath and the bottles on the seat. Parting of my dead hand, cured of my disease.
Yeah, so with this, as you get to around that 4 or 5 o'clock mark, that's when it really starts to open up and get a bit grittier. So it's definitely something you need to use a bit sparingly, but it's nonetheless a very effective tool. So next are the clarity and body controls. This is where I think it really branches out from just being a compressor to being much more of a, like I said earlier, like a vocal processing station, as these two really allow you to control frequencies and tonal characteristics. With clarity being a subtractive EQ that automatically detects potentially problematic frequencies, and you can dial in how much of that you want to cut out. And then the body control, which essentially is just a mid to low mid-range presence. And in this case, I'm having it all the way up. I think it sounds really good on Evan's voice, but we'll sweep through and see how it changes.
Burning like a fever, shadows on the stone. Fire in the sky so the stars don't burn alone. Burning like a fever, shadows on the stone.
lastly are these breath and sibilance controls. What the sibilance knob is essentially a de-esser. That's the way I'm using it anyway. As you roll off from the maximum, you're just lowering the amount of that S sound you have in your signal, which is really nice. And then the breath control, which is really just a noise gate. So having it all the way up, all of that noise and all those breaths are going to come through. The more you lower it, the more that's going to get cut out. You can also see this being really effective for cutting out any headphone bleed in a vocal performance or click track noise. And it's really convenient just because you don't have to do any external gating or anything like that. So here's what that sounds like.
Burning like a fever, shadows on the stone. Fire in the sky so the stars don't burn alone. Whiskey on my breath and the bottles on the seat. Body of my dead hand, cured of my disease.
Alright guys, I hope you guys found that useful. I definitely want to thank Joey and Jay Steve for hitting me up with this plugin to demo. I think they've really killed it with this by bringing something that was already awesome for heavier styles of music and really smashing vocals. Something that can be used on just a variety of different applications and different genres and performances. I definitely recommend this to anyone that's going for a very commercial vocal sound. Like Joey's even said in videos, like, same thing for me. Having just this one thing has eliminated like a 5 plugin chain. So if you want a quicker and easier solution of just getting that very upfront, clear vocal mix, I think this is a very good way to go. And I know I'll be using it on a lot of my mix work in the future.
I'm on the run, yeah, I'm